The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
The mind of Pat Popolizio is a wondrous thing. And for you Pack wrestling fans, you'll get to go inside the mind of the Skip each and every episode here on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, here's your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt.
Happy New Year, Wolfpack Nation. Let's turn those calendars ahead and get ready for the next few months of exciting NCAA wrestling action. Welcome to a brand new 2019 episode of the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. I'm your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt. And here to talk all things Wolfpack Wrestling is your head coach, Pat Popolizio.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year, Brian.
Pat, great to have you back. You're looking really tan these days. I don't know if that's from the beach down training in South Florida or all of the fluorescent lights, but glad to have you back in Raleigh.
Yeah, I'm glad you were there with me. I saw you with your shirt off on the beach, so I think it was well needed you to get a little color as well.
First of all, we're retaping this because my batteries are in out, but I popped you in the first time, so you didn't quite have the same reaction to that before. But this is going to be a great episode of the podcast, but then again, I think they all are. And as we turn ahead to a new calendar year, I just wanted to take a quick moment and thank all of our devoted listeners and friends of the podcast for listening. At every home duel this season, I've had multiple people come up and say how informative and entertaining the podcast is. Plus, the new selfie station backdrop sponsored by the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast has been a huge hit. Thanks again for listening to the only podcast in D1 Wrestling that is hosted and produced by a school. And if you need proof that we are a podcast, just search and find us everywhere you get all of your favorite podcasts. So subscribe now. But back to the show, Pat. I know there was a holiday break, but for in-season sports like wrestling, you guys have a very busy time training and a lot of matches. Were the guys able to get some time off and recover as we enter the final few months of the season?
No doubt about it. You know, our sport runs parallel with a lot of the holidays through the year, so I think it's something guys are very accustomed to. It's something they grew up with, and it just comes with the territory. You know, you got to learn how to be disciplined through the holidays and find ways to continue to get your workouts in, because we all need it. You know, kids need to go back home, see their families, regroup, and get ready for some holiday competitions, and that's what we were able to do. And I'm glad we got everybody back together and we're training as a team and got some good competition under our belt.
And I talked about this being an exciting time of year. Your next duel is on Sunday, January 6th at number 2 Ohio State. Obviously a top 10 showdown involving a pair of squads that brought home a team trophy at last year's NCAA championships. But the duel will be broadcast nationally on ESPN2. Pat, most of our duels are now streamed live, both home and on the road, but how big is it for the program and for the sport to have a nationally televised duel on ESPN2?
This is great for the sport. You know, anytime we can get on national television, I think it's good exposure for college wrestling, and then obviously we're thankful to be a part of that as NC State and an opportunity to wrestle one of the best teams in the country. So it is. It's going to be a showcased event, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity, and I know our guys are excited. A lot of them, it would be the first time they get to wrestle in this kind of atmosphere and setting, so they should be fired up and excited to be a part of this.
And again, we'll have a full breakdown of the Ohio State duel coming up, but you will hear this reminder quite often on this podcast. Wolfpack at Buckeyes, Sunday, January 6th at 6 p.m. on ESPN2. And before we look forward, we have to look at some recent results. After Christmas, you guys spent a few days down in Fort Lauderdale and took part in the South Beach duels. NC State fell on criteria to number 18 Wyoming, then reeled off 3 straight wins to conclude the action, 27-13 over number 13 Purdue, 23-11 over number 22 Utah Valley, and 24-9 over Indiana. Pat, very broad question. What were your thoughts on the weekend of action?
Thought it was good. You know, we needed that a little bit. We got tested every which way, individual as a team. And, you know, I've been saying it all along, you know, we're an inexperienced team. We have a lot of talent right now, but we're a very inexperienced team as far as everybody being together. And as time goes on, we'll hit our rhythm, and this was good. I think we grew a lot from this weekend. Guys were upset. Wasn't our best performance coming out, a little flat on our first duel. And, I think it motivated some guys to go out and wrestle a little harder and be a little smarter. And coming off the break, that's everybody's doing it. And you got to, it was the first time down the weight, having a few weeks off with these guys. So I think it was good for us. I think it was a reality check, and I like how we responded more than anything, because guys did take it personal, and they showed up and wrestled hard the next 3 duels. And this week of practice has been razor sharp. Guys are focused. Weight is all in check across the board, and that was the biggest thing. I think our discipline got us a little bit, and I'd rather have it happen mid-year than at the end of the year, and we know what we need to do to continue to get better, and that's going to define this team. I asked them to do some soul searching and ask them what their identity is as far as this team, and I think we're finding it as time goes on, and this will be a good true test coming up this weekend.
In doing my notes for the ESPN2 broadcast up at Ohio State, I crunched some pretty impressive numbers for your squad. Over the last 4 seasons, NC State has won 15 of its last 16 true road duels and 18 of its 20 neutral site duels. So for those without a calculator, the Wolfpack is 33-3 in duels outside of Raleigh since 2016. Obviously a huge test at number 2 Ohio State, but what do you attribute the recent road success to?
I think it's just guys being focused. Sometimes when you're on the road, you get a little more time to really zone in on your competition and be focused. You're away from all your distractions when you're at home, and that's anybody when you're traveling. And, I personally like that because we can manage a lot of different things when we're on the road. At home, guys are leaving, going back to their house or dorm room, and then you're just getting them when they're at practice. When we're on the road, we have them 24/7, so we can dictate when they get up, when they go to bed, what they eat. And sometimes that's a positive thing. I'm not saying all the time, but I think that's good to have control of when you're on the road and kind of just managing guys throughout the weekend. And that's something I think we do a really good job as a staff and as a team.
This weekend, I saw the itinerary. I'm hopping on board. True weekend. We're leaving very early on Saturday, coming back very early on Monday. That's a lot of togetherness.
That's where you need it. Your time has been far and few between this year, so guys have been asking for you, and make sure you pack a little snack for you, so I don't want to hear any complaining that we haven't been eating enough on the road.
But before we get into our full preview of the duel at Ohio State, I wanted to touch on a couple of true freshmen Wolfpack fans will certainly be seeing in the near future. As this season has gone along, we've been talking more and more about your crop of redshirts and more great recent results for this redshirt circuit. Jacob Camacho placed 3rd at 125 pounds, and classmate Trent Haile placed 4th at 174 at the Southern Scuffle. Camacho went 6-1, including 4-0 on the final day. His only loss was a top 5 guy, but he came right back in the next match and picked up a win over number 20 Gutierrez of Chattanooga. So talk about Jacob's performance at the Scuffle and just overall how he's coming along. He's now sitting at 19-2 on his redshirt season.
Having a phenomenal year for a true freshman. A lot of these guys are committed to being great. So we sent them to this tournament knowing that they had to be at their best, because you're seeing some of the best guys in the country, and those guys showed up. They competed hard, and the takeaways are all positive. They've learned a lot. They know they got to get better. They got to get bigger. They got to get stronger, and that's what you want. When you hit these tournaments, you want to focus on the positives, but also reassure and let you know that there are things out there and guys are, at this certain level. So how these guys respond defines who they are, and that's what I'm asking them to do, is to be, I guess, focused in on the next year. We got over a year before they need to be at their best, and that's a lot of time. And those guys are, you come back in the room today already, and they're in there working out, and that's why I think they're going to be in position to win national titles right away, is because they're that committed to it. So I'm excited to see their future.
And Trent up at 174 was 4th, and might have been the toughest bracket. His lone losses were to number 8 and number 5, but he also picked up a pair of top 20 wins and is now 17-2. But that 174 bracket down there, that was an incredible bracket.
Yeah, I think you're going to see half the NCAA tournament was in that field when it's all said and done, and I'm very pleased with the way he performed. I think he was in position to win every match that he competed in, and I think he knew that. His takeaways on that, he's smart, he understands it, and it was a well-needed tournament for him because he truly got tested. He's been in some tournaments where he's been able to win them, and now he got what he wanted out of this one, and he's only going to get better as time goes on. He's a true competitor, and he's training hard and smart, and the sky's the limit for him. So it's going to be a very exciting future for these young guys.
Now to the main event. Number 9, NC State heads to number 2, Ohio State on Sunday, January 6th. The duel's going to be televised on ESPN2 and starts at 6 o'clock. Second straight season, NC State and Ohio State have faced off. How did the series come about?
Yeah, just relationships that were built with Tom Ryan. I think some of it developed with the NWCA, being a part of that and building that relationship up. And then, he asked last year if we would go out there and wrestle, and it just, the way our schedule was, we needed a Big Ten team to come to NC State, and timing-wise, it worked out for him last year to come here, and it was one of those, if they came, we knew we were going to go back there, and it turned out to be a very good experience for us. And I think there's a lot of key matchups this year that we're both going to benefit from in that side of things.
And the Big Ten is often regarded as the top conference in college wrestling from top to bottom, but you guys have really stepped it up against that conference. Over the last 4 seasons, NC State has won 8 of its 10 duels against teams from the Big Ten, 7-2 against ranked foes. Do you think your guys have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder when facing teams from the Big Ten?
Yeah, I think it's good. They got a great reputation for a reason. You're producing national champs and team titles out of there, so it's hard to not say that. But I think the ACC is doing its part and its job, getting better and better across the board, and we're starting to produce individual national champs and taking home team trophies now. Not just us, but other programs in the ACC. So we've got to continue to grow that. We don't have as many teams, and I personally like it because I think it gives us time to go and get some outside competition, and we, obviously get to wrestle really good competition in the ACC. So I think it's one of those, guys know what they're getting into when we go to wrestle a top-ranked team, and it doesn't matter if it's Big Ten, Big 12, EIWA, ACC, SoCon. There's good wrestlers all over the country now, and it's a good time for college wrestling.
The Wolfpack and Buckeyes combined to have 14 ranked wrestlers this week, including 11 ranked in the top 10. Potential for 4 matches between top 10 foes. Pat, this ESPN2 audience could really see a good matchup on Sunday.
It's going to be very entertaining matches across the board. I don't think there's too many mismatches. A lot of times you get in these dual meets and you get, a number 1 ranked kid against an unranked guy. Those are mismatches, and I think this duel, you're going to see a lot of really good, close, tough competition matches that you're probably going to see quarterfinals, semifinals, and possibly NCAA finals.
Talking about an NCAA elite match, I always start my look at matchups at the lower weights, and what a rematch this will be at 133. Number 7, Tariq Wilson, will go up against number 5, Luke Pletcher. Both were All-Americans last year. One was 3rd, one was 4th. They split their matches, with Pletcher winning the duel and Tariq 3rd at the NCAAs. Now, Tariq told me he has about 25 family and friends making the trip over from Steubenville. How excited is he for this matchup?
He's in his home state, so yeah, he's got to be excited, and I know he's coming off of a letdown, so I know he's fired up, and I think it's good. He needed a wake-up call. He got it, and now it's one of those you can jump right back on the horse and wrestle one of the best guys in the country and a guy that beat him here, and then we got the reverse that in the NCAA tournament. So this is going to be a rubber match, and I'm excited to see how he does, how he shows up, and how he competes, because he's a true competitor, and he does. Right now he's got a chip on his shoulder because he feels like something was taken from him last weekend, and I'm confident he's going to show up and compete his hardest.
And going up to 149 pounds, number 4, Justin Oliver, will face number 3, Micah Jordan. The two are combined 22-1 this year. Oliver, obviously, in his first season at NC State after transferring from Central Michigan, while Jordan is down a weight after placing 6th last year at 157. Justin lost to Micah Jordan twice a couple of seasons ago when they met in a couple of different tournaments, so I know he has this one circled, and this is going to be Justin's toughest test of this young season.
Absolutely, and we need this test to see where we're at and what we need to work on, and I know, like you said, he's wrestled him twice, and he hasn't been able to beat him yet, so I think he knows what he needs to do as far as strategy goes, and he's going to wrestle a tough competitor that's obviously one of the best kids in the country, and it's one that, you could see both these guys in the national finals. So we got to be ready to roll and know what we need to do on our end and wrestle our style, and I'm excited for that match because I think it's going to be a very, very competitive match.
And looking at 157, number 5, Hayden Haile, will square off with number 8, Keyshawn Haze. Last year, Hayden was an NCAA finalist, while Haze was down at 149 and entered the NCAAs as the number 5 seed. And Hayden was a scoring machine down in Florida, and you said in a recent interview you thought he really benefited from a little bit of time off here.
Yeah, when we talked about it going into the break, that guy trains extremely hard, and he's a workhorse, and he's at times, he'll run himself hard, and we've got to manage that. And we talked a little bit about taking those 5 days and regrouping and staying off the mat because, he basically went all summer long. And I think it's one of those, you got to restart some things mentally and physically, and he looks as good as ever. And I'm excited for this timing-wise. He's starting to make that climb a little bit, and this is a perfect time to get a challenge where we're about to see in a style that we got to be ready for at the end of the year. And this is another one. I think you're going to see some fireworks, and we're excited for this challenge.
We already went over 3 top 10 matchups, but I want to save this one for last. Battle of number 1 versus number 3 at 184 pounds. Myles Martin has been ranked number 1 all season. He enters 7-0, while Nick Greenin is up to number 3 this week after his 10-0 start, including a pair of top 8 wins already. What kind of platform is it for Greenin to be in this matchup?
The luxury with Greenin is he's gotten some valuable experience this summer and already this season, and this is one of those matches you got to go out and let it fly. You got an opportunity to wrestle a guy that was in the national finals, an NCAA champ in the past. So he knows he's got to elevate his game and be ready to compete when we go there. And, obviously we're going to be in their arena, so you'll have the crowd against you. And if you don't live for these moments, then, college wrestling, this is what defines what we do, is to go and be a part of something like this and have your back against the wall. And who's going to step up and truly be a competitor. And that's what we need out of Nick. And I know he's excited for this opportunity because it's one of those, you got to let it fly. And I know these guys are big move guys, so it should be one you're going to see another very entertaining match and a possible match you could see at the end of the year in the national finals.
Really simple question. What is it going to take for you guys to leave Columbus with a win?
We got to show up. We got to compete. We got to be ready to go across the board. And I think if we've learned anything in dual meets as far as a team, we got to take advantage of winning the matches we can. And if we're not able to win matches, we can't give up bonus points. And that's been the unfortunate thing in some of our duels is we've given up some bonus points. And if you do that against a team like Ohio State, it's going to be hard to win. And we know that. So our guys got to bring the fight, and we're going to have to get an upset or two. And we're due up to go there and compete well, because I think last year we got bad timing of coming off of a dual meet. So I know our guys are excited for this challenge and to show that we're ready to compete with a team like Ohio State, because they've earned that right in their first-class program, and I'm excited for the opportunity.
Big match at Ohio State, and that's the focus right now. But coming back to Raleigh, you guys will host 4 straight home duels to close out January. The next big home event will be on Saturday, January 12th, when NC State hosts Brown at the PNC Arena right after the men's basketball game versus Pitt. Pat, me and you were just in a meeting about the setup for the event. How excited are you that the duel at PNC Arena is getting closer?
It's good. It's good for wrestling. We get to get in an arena that obviously plays professional hockey, and then where our basketball team competes in, and we got to show that we can fill that up a little bit and do our part to get some fans to stick around, and like we said, win over some basketball fans to stick around and support wrestling. I think that's good for Olympic sports. So yeah, that'll be a venue hopefully down the road that the NCAA looks at and thinks they can run the NCAA tournament out of here. So let's show them that that's something that's possible.
For ticket information, visit gopack.com, and we'll be providing more information as it gets closer. But later that night, the Wolfpack Wrestling Club will host its annual casino night in NC State's Tally Student Union. This event has been very productive in terms of generating donations for the Wolfpack Wrestling Club, as well as providing opportunities for fans, alumni, and supporters to come together and help grow Wolfpack Wrestling's outreach throughout the community, as not only you can play lots of different games at this event, but you can also come interact with coaches and former wrestlers. Pat, this is a very fun event. I very much enjoy sitting down and beating you in poker and winning back my per diem money. But how is that night shaping up as we are getting closer?
Well, let's just clear the air there. You know your poker skills are lacking, so we'll stop with that right there.
I'm glad how you pick up on certain things I say and others you just
definitely
ignore.
So this event, it started a couple years back. It's been growing every year, and it's critical to what we need to continue to grow our program and keep guys like Machiavello, Tommy Gant, Lee Davis, Nick Wisdowski, keeping those guys here in-house training. So we got to continue to grow our resources, and this is a fun event to do both of that, have a good time. beat you in poker, and then obviously raise our resources. So I'm excited for it, and it should be, again, a perfect time, having 2 home duels and the alumni coming back. It'll be an exciting, fun time.
A very big weekend. We'll talk about it in the very near future. But like I said, fans are invited to come for that evening, enjoy some casino games, and get to know those involved with the NC State wrestling team better. Plenty of prizes will be given away and won throughout the night, and you can all feel like a high rollers. When you register, you're going to get $1,000 worth of chips to start out. To register for the annual casino night, visit wolfpackwrestlingclub.org. Again, to register, and we know there is an early bird registration going on right now, so perfect time. But visit wolfpackwrestlingclub.org. Pat, I hope we got the fans excited for this huge duel at Ohio State. I'm hoping all of Wolfpack Nation turns into ESPN2 on Sunday, January 6th at 6 o'clock to watch the Pack in action.
Yeah, should be an exciting duel, and great to have college wrestling on ESPN.
ESPN2.
ESPN.
Okay. I want to thank everybody for listening today. This is your Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast covering all things NC State wrestling. Until next time, Wolfpack wrestling fans, go Pack.
Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is produced by the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, go to MattTalkOnline.com.